since
Yeah,
we've done the podcast. At least I
it's
saw you pretty
been
recently.
what, 3 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. 2, 3 weeks. Who knows? It's been somewhere around there. I really wanted to do the intro today, but I can never quite hit it just like you do. I gotta like get that. Hey,
Hey, it's all Dave. You got to listen to Dave.
Dave. Dave has a silky voice, unlike one of our
Any of us?
yeah, we unlike our one of our footballers that we used to call Silky. We'll get into that later though. Things are going great, man. It's 172 degrees Fahrenheit out here. Um,
At least, yes, I
at
concur.
the very least, I came into my basement thinking, man, I'm gonna be able to get out of this heat. My air conditioners are struggling to keep up with this, 90 plus degree weather. Um, and then I had the bright fucking idea to go and to make a nice, red sauce and spaghetti for dinner. So I made it a little worse. Like who eats spaghetti in 95-degree weather? This guy. Um, but other than
My
that, things have been
son.
going great. Lots of fucking football, man. It's been great. Um, Went down to Western Massachusetts, Lusitano Stadium to watch our very own Vermont Green play yesterday, or not yesterday, day before yesterday, um, and that was an experience. Um, Something we'll get delve deeply into on the other podcast, on the United and Green podcast. But um, other than that, like, uh, found out that my son made a premier team for next year. They're switching to the big field, man, full
Oh
size field,
wow,
11v11.
let's grow it up.
He is. It's going to be great because they're going to switch into the big field, and then he's going to get back into school ball and play probably still in the smaller field. So it's going to be an exciting time for him. So we'll see what happens there. How about you? What's going on with you, man?
Oh, just living the dream. Um, no, not much. Just been watching a lot of Copa America, Euros, not to be confused with gyros or heroes.
Yeah, those are good.
Those are
Those are
good.
good.
A lot of those games were not as good. Um, but we'll talk about that. We'll touch on Euros. We'll touch on Copa America. Otherwise, it's just been pretty uneventful. Not really a whole lot going on my end.
Good.
Watching the Vermont Green hitting the postseason starting tomorrow. That'll be fun. It's always fun when you've got that local team. And I know some of our European listeners will probably relate to this a bit more, having that local club that you can like all go out and support and really feel the atmosphere. But yeah, it's great. I'm glad that we're extending the season a little bit. Sucked that our final home game got canceled due to rain. So I'm glad I have one more chance to get out and see them. At least one more chance.
It'll be. I think it's going to be a great time. I was watching their social media. They took off today, so they're probably they took off this morning, so they're probably up here for some um, late night training, and get used to the field and stuff. They do have fans at their stadium, so that'll be different. So a lot of these teams we play don't get a lot of fans. They don't have fans like we have, but they don't have they don't overcapacity the stadiums that they play in. So
Sure,
they do have a fan base down there though, Pennsylvania.
that'll be fun.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania, ooh,
I know.
rough.
Yeah,
As
that
a New Jersey native, I have some feelings about Pennsylvania, but for another time. For another time.
for another time.
So
But
where do we want to start? Man, there's just so much to dive into. I'm almost wondering
so
why we thought, oh, we could take a month off in between. What's
you
the
know,
harm in that?
yeah. What is the harm in that? The harm is that you know I've kind of embraced the new mic, which is ITK isn't real mic. It's the ITK isn't real until the man is holding the shirt thing. So we can either dive into that, the ITK stuff that is actually real. We can dive into Copa and Euros. Again, not the Greek Euro. Um,
Ah, so
Well,
good.
they did win the Euros one year, didn't they? That's weird.
They did, as a matter of
Anyway,
fact.
or yeah, no, let's get into what happened at the Euros because you have your name for today's podcast is Kane's Curse.
Yeah, yeah. So before we touch on that England final, the Euros as a whole, I don't know about you, but I felt like so many teams, too many really, mostly like the bigger name teams played it. I felt way too safe,
Mm,
which made things kind of tedious and boring. Like very few exceptions. I thought Spain did relatively well for their entire campaign and deservedly got their win. But some of these other teams, I thought they made the mistake of just trying to like, oh well, if we can just dictate and play a little bit patient and not really do too much, we can, you know, take control. But the problem is, and it's a problem that we as Spurs fans are familiar with. When you do that and your opposition is used to defending for their lives, you're not going to get very many chances. And if you concede at all, you're just kind of fucked at that point because then they're really not going to go for it.
right. So that way, that way you end up with these bigger teams, the Germanys, the Spains of the world, the Frances of the world. Um, you end up getting into that area where they are, like you said, sitting. They're just kind of going out there and playing, kind of lackadaisical. And then they get found out, or they get scored on, and they aren't able to recover. And I'm talking about teams like Turkey, and is that how they're pronouncing it now? Turkey.
Turkey.
I like my Turkey with gravy. Um, but or Czechia, any of those teams, the Slovenias, all those teams that seem to quote unquote surprise. I also think a part of it, Steve, too, is not that teams are sitting back and trying to play it safe or being a little lackadaisical or not taking their competition seriously. I think there's a little bit of the fact that um, the rest of the world's football is starting to catch up.
Oh, interesting. That's
Um,
not where I thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to talk about the obscene amount of games that a lot of these professionals are being asked to play over the course of a year.
well, I mean, there's a number of different reasons that we could throw out there, and you know, we could try to wax lyrical about. But I mean, we're not going to sit here and I guess that's what we do is we kind of give our bullshit opinion and ask people to listen to it on a weekly basis, or in the off season a monthly basis. Um, but like
You're asking, I'm begging.
I'm thinking, I
Please, please listen to
in
us.
terms of like what we saw with England, teams like what England try kind of coasting through and getting lucky in a lot of times. I think it's that the rest of the world has caught up to them. I think there's a little bit to do with the fact that Southgate, I think,
Is a
maybe
hack.
if he might be a hack, he might think a little too much of himself. He might have overthought it. He might have just said, "Let's put the fucking stars out there and show them what England can do," instead of putting young players who are proven players out there. Harry Kane, for one, HK9 for this discussion. He looked like to me like he was fucking finished. You know,
Yeah, he did not look great. I
he
mean,
did a lot of he did a lot of that dropping back. He didn't do the Harry Kane hold up play back to goal kind of striker. Maybe that's what Southgate was asking him to do. But when he was needed to run, he just didn't do it. He didn't do it or couldn't do it. Um, it was the same kind of thing for like a Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne kind of, you know, was out there just kind of going through the paces. And maybe it is, with a team like Belgium, like a team like Germany, like they're just kind of going through the paces. because they don't want to get hurt. They don't want to, you know, ruin the what they have going for them in the financial world. On the other side of this, Kevin De Bruyne is looking at a deal with Saudi, right? So can't ruin that shit. Um, but then you have guys who are out there trying to make names for themselves. And we can just mention a few of a couple of our own Spurs players and Mickey Van de Ven, who's out there busting his dick for every fucking 10-minute appearance that he has. Um, Radu Dragusin out there, and maybe he didn't have the best final game of his Euros, but he was out there busting his balls, being he's basically the face of the team, in a defensive spot. So there are a number of reasons, and for whatever reason, these big teams are either, like you said, holding back or not taking it as seriously, which I don't think, in my experience with the European pride thing that they have for playing for their nation. I don't see that. I think it's more to do with the world catching up, and we're going to see a lot of these undiscovered names that we've not heard before coming out and playing in big leagues. I mean, it happens every Euros. Two or three people pop out of it every Euros, every World Cup.
Yeah, I hope so. It's always much more interesting to me when there's a lot more competition for first, as opposed to, oh well, they're just going to walk all the way to the finals. And speaking of walking to the finals, I mean, England, some people are going to say, oh, it's tactic masterclass. They got to the finals. That's more than they've done in the past. Southgate's done something. And I agree, he has done something. I disagree that it's a good thing. I think with the talent that England possessed, especially if you look at some of the names that did not get called up, I think he absolutely bottled their best opportunity at at a trophy here. They could have won it. They honestly, they probably should have won it. Except he fell into the exact same trap he's fallen into time and time again. He makes the obvious change way too late. It pays off in this case with Cole Palmer getting that beautiful goal. And then what does he do? He doesn't press the advantage. He tries to go back to that patient, dictate the game against Spain of all teams, and it bit him in the ass. And I can't say that I'm surprised. I mean, yeah, Kane had a really fucking awful game, and honestly, he hasn't shown up for finals ever. So I'm not surprised by that either. I mean, honestly, this is one of those things where like maybe Watkins should have been the one to start. If you've seen Kane play in finals, maybe like hold on a bit and give somebody else an opportunity. But I also think part of it is just the team selection around him. I don't think was necessarily set up to play to his strengths. I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of times it was just let's play some of these big name superstars and you know hope that they can pull it out, and that doesn't always work. That can't really be your plan A, B, and C. You really need to have some kind of a backup ready to go in the event that it starts to fail, and fail it did.
Um, I think we're going to stay on England here in that final. I think that
It's just so disappointing for me because they could. It was their
England
best
played
chance.
probably England probably played one of their better games in that final. Still Harry Kane walking around out there like he should have been yanked at halftime. Ollie Watkins, Ivan Tony, um, any of those options. You know, uh, I think that Phil Foden should have been yanked earlier. He was uh, basically worthless for most of the tournament. Um, Bukayo Saka was worthless for most of the tournament. The guys that you want to go out there and see, but the guys who really did go out there and perform, you didn't see guys like Jared Bowen, who had probably his best season of his career last year. You didn't get to see him on the field. You barely got to see Cole Palmer for more than 8 to 10 minutes on the field. Cole Palmer, who had the most goal contributions in the entire Premier League, maybe the world this year, close to that. Um, in it, you know, guys being played out of position the entire tournament. Um, you don't get to see Anthony Gordon out there. You didn't get to see like a lot of these young players. You are Gareth Southgate, and you are making the conscious decision to play Kobe Manu over Cole Palmer. Um, that to me just cries. I want to be fucking fired at the end of this tournament.
I mean, honestly, he
Nothing
should
wrong
have
with
been
Kobe
let
Manu. He's
go.
a nice young player, but he didn't impress me at fucking all this year at Manchester United. Cole Palmer did. Cole Palmer flourished under Pochettino. Um, Once he started getting minutes, and Pochettino's system allows for something like that. We know as Spurs fans, his system allows for a player like Cole Palmer to be successful. Um, we didn't. You didn't even. You didn't get to see Conor Gallagher out there either. Like you're you're relying on um, who maybe he's being paid off by these big clubs to play their name players, but I don't know. But you're relying on something that he plays for City, he must be really good. He scores goals for Arsenal, he must be really good. He scored, you know, 41 to 43 goals for Bayern Munich. He must be really good. But if the pieces of the puzzle don't fit together,
Yep,
you know, it's not going to work. You saw
it's
what
a
happened when you
chemistry.
brought Ollie Watkins on, when you brought Ivan Tony on. Like they stretch the field, they suck up defenders so that other players can make plays, or they make the plays themselves. What a beautiful fucking finish by Ollie Watkins, by the way, in that semifinal.
Yeah,
Like I don't know.
absolutely. And then he does that's the kicker for me. He does something like that, and what's his reward? Benched for the next game.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
not like Kane has been on fire either, you know? Like
No,
he
scored two
hasn't
goals.
done anything.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly.
It's just it's got to be frustrating for some of these guys to, like, to get there, to give it their all, to make the most of the opportunities, the limited opportunities that they get, and still to have to sit on the bench for somebody who is quite clearly underperforming.
Yeah, yeah. It's a travesty, and um, you know, I'm not saying that these players necessarily needed to start every game, but they should have. Actually, Cole Palmer should have started all these games. Um, but some of them who didn't get the shot to get in there and make a difference or try to make a difference, um, I don't think you're going to get. If he was looking for a Calvin Phillips, you're not going to get. Um, I don't think you're going to get closer to another Calvin Phillips than you are with like a Conor Gallagher, right? Someone who's able to carry the ball, someone who's able to carry the ball and play a defensive position in the midfield. You know, Conor Gallagher is kind of limited in his passing ability, but like he's not being asked ever to play not as a number 10. You know, I mean, if you want a pure number 10, you're going to go after somebody like a James Madison, who was obviously injured, and he's a true number 10. But that said, let's get into the Copa.
Oh my god, what a
Because
shit
you
show
want to
that
talk about a
was.
fucking shit show on our own soil, a preview of what, hopefully not a preview of what the World Cup is going to bring when it comes to these shores. Um, I don't want to do the thing where I call them fucking animals, but like these fans behaved less like human beings should behave than any other human beings I've seen. And I understand, and it wasn't just the fans; it was the players too. But what the Colombia fans did last night was not the way human beings, and especially adult human beings, should be behaving.
Absolutely. What kind of an example does that set for we talk about players being role models, right? But you have to consider that games like this, which are going to be televised, I mean, there's going to be cameras on you. People are going to see your antics and what you get up to. I mean, how can you not think about that and think I should be on my best behavior? Somebody
Well,
is going to see this.
and then what do these assholes do, right? Which is storm the gates. They want to get in. They get in, and what's happening? The people, the people who actually have paid thousands of dollars for their tickets are being locked out because of it.
Man, I saw a
People
video.
climbing through the fucking the
Yeah, you
vent
saw
ducts,
that? That
and
was insane.
people crashing through the gates. Like there's just not enough security, and every single one of them were wearing yellow shirts. You know, and they're the ones who are crying in the previous game, um, about their fans being attacked by players like Darwin Nunes and our very own Rodrigo Bentancur. Um,
More on him later.
yes, right. And, we can talk about
Not
it
in a
right
good
now,
way.
but like the Copa America final, should have started at 8 p.m. Eastern time here in uh, in the United States. Um, in Miami, a place Hard Rock Stadium, which has hosted how many soccer games, U.S. Football games, drunk Americans, you know, drunk fat Americans coming to watch NFL games, without issue, for how many hundreds or thousands of matches and concerts and all the stuff that Miami's a fun town. It's a beautiful town. It's a place. It's a party atmosphere down there, and of course, yes, we get it, Bielsa. The pitch was shit, and they didn't grow the grass. I know he said they grew the grass 3 days before. That didn't happen. Like,
It's not how
yeah, he's
that
going to use
works,
every
right?
excuse he can, and I get it. Yes, they weren't ready for it, but he's going to use every excuse they can as to why they lost, and to kind of shield um, the bullshit that his players and the Uruguayan players have shown us to do time and time and time again, which is Luis Suarez biting people. Um, you know, starting fights with the other team on the field after the games, before the games. Suarez was right in the thick of it again, in that semifinal, and uh, credit to Colombia, they played a pretty goddamn good game that game. You know, a man down for most of the game. Um, but all those memes that you see are actually like they're coming true. They're coming true. Like uh, the Euros are this nice, fancy, well played, well mannered tournament, and and the Copa America is guerrilla warfare.
It really is.
I've
I don't
never
know.
seen such
Awkward.
dirty soccer being played, and a lack of care by the referees.
Yeah, I think and this is probably something that applies across the board. And we've talked about referees and the quality in the past. It's interesting to see the difference between North and South American referees versus your European referees. They're both incompetent, both showing that they can't utilize the technology in front of them to the best of their ability, and yet they still manage to fuck up in the strangest ways. There's a part of me that understands, right? Refereeing is a thankless fucking job. You've got people yelling at you all the time, talking shit, throwing harassment at you. It's not easy to be a referee, especially if you have to make an unpopular decision. So I would understand why people who might be good at it wouldn't want to stick around all that long. But at the same time, I think it's up to the governing bodies to protect them, not from being idiots and making stupid decisions and then doubling down on it, but from the fan abuse and that sort of behavior. Uh, it's the only way you're going to get people who feel comfortable and confident in making decisions stick around for some of these high level type matches. And there is a part of it that might be training related, I'm sure. I know when I was looking through some of the modules for coaching and refing in the US, they talk a lot about trying to build a rapport with the players and letting them know that I'm going to communicate with you. I'm going to explain things to you and kind of set that expectation right from the get go. Um, but I don't know. I think part of it is just a lack of communication or an unwillingness to communicate. Because, I mean, look, we've seen refing done much better in different sports. And it's not like they don't get abuse thrown at them, they don't have players up in their faces. It's just that they're handling it a lot differently. And we could talk about that subject for a long time,
Days,
but
hours. Like we watched what happened with the United States and their what ended up being basically their elimination game. The garbage refereeing from a referee who never refed in a
yeah,
major tournament before. There's lots of things that were messed up here, and I think we can only hope that you know they get it cleared out 2 years from now, when we have the World Cup here on our back in our soil in some of these same stadiums. Um,
absolutely, absolutely. And I
yeah,
think it will be. I think, especially with a lot of the scrutiny that U.S. soccer is under right now, there's probably going to be a push to make it quite a positive experience. Um, so I don't know. We can hypothesize all we want. It's just going to turn out to be a wait and see type thing. So we'll see how
exactly.
that goes.
Yeah, no question, no question.
You have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I just said no question,
No question.
no
Oh,
question.
yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, moving on from that, we've alluded to it enough. I think it's time that we address the Uruguayan elephant in the room.
um. So
Oh,
yeah,
Rodrigo, what
uh,
the fuck have you been up to this summer, man?
we um we I won't say we here at Wicked Spursy, because I'm not going to speak for our benefactor who doesn't like to come out during the summer. And I'm not going to speak for you either. But for myself, I was, and we didn't get to talk about this, I don't think, last time. I was appalled um, at the comments about Son, and about Asian people. Um, and then I tried to take a step back and look at it from his perspective. We talked about like the stuff with Lucas Mora and like his culture and the way his culture and his religion and stuff um treat certain subjects, right? Certain really sensitive subjects. Um and so I had to take a step back and look at it and say, okay, let's see the response from the club, let's see the response from San, um and let's go from there. So he made his apology, his public apology. Son made his statement on it, forgave him, um, said he understood where he was coming from, and that it was a really bad attempt at humor or whatever it was. But um, let's move on. Let's learn from this. And then he came out and made another goddamn statement, which didn't make it any better. In,
No, it did not.
in fact, kind of made it worse. Um,
Yep.
Hold on, my goddamn laptop is dying.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know how. If he's got somebody that handles his PR or something, or even his manager or somebody's got to get in his ear and say, "Buddy, like, you got to stop. Like, quit while you're ahead. Not that you're
quit,
really ahead, but like,
quit while you're ahead. Yeah.
stop digging the fucking hole." Like, it's just it's awful, right? Because I was in the same boat, right? Like, I understand things get lost in translation. Maybe there's some kind of inside joke or something
Right.
that
It could
we're
have been a
not privy
language barrier
to.
thing.
I'm willing to
Right.
give people the benefit of the doubt, especially when it comes to language barriers, cultural differences, things like that. Things that I personally am not privy to, right? Like
Sure.
I've got nothing, right? I'm a white dude in fucking Vermont. I can't speak to any of this shit.
You're
Um,
slightly Brazilian.
yeah, but even then, I don't know that
No,
I would.
but yeah, I get, yeah, and I get what you're saying.
But
I
at the
get what
same
you're saying.
time, when yeah, that second comment was like, oh god, no, like just fucking stop. If
What
you
was the
had
point of it?
stopped, maybe things would have died down. People would have forgotten. People have goldfish fucking memories. But then he doubled down, and then the
He
Copa America happened.
so he goes off the field injured at halftime. But unfortunately decides that something happened with the rest of his team, that everybody has decided that all these Colombian fans who are excited to get onto the field, right, or to come close to the players that are on the field, got pushed up to the front, right, at the end of the game. And we're crowding out some of the families of the Uruguayan players. I don't think they were there to attack them or hurt them. I don't know anybody's motives for anything. All I know is what I saw in the crazy aftermath. Darwin Nunez is going into the crowd punching people. Um, and Rodrigo Bentancur throws a bottle and hits a spectator in the head with the bottle. Um, this to me is unacceptable. It's the last straw. And, hopefully, this ends up being Galatasaray's problem in the future, right? He needs a ban. He needs a ban.
Absolutely.
He needs a ban. He needs to be removed um, from any consideration of being in Tottenham's first team, as far as I'm concerned. And whether or not that creates a problem, we'll wait and see on that.
I don't
I
know about
I
problem. I think it does offer up an opportunity for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, putting aside his personal issues for a moment, he hasn't exactly lit the world aflame, since coming back from injuries. So I think we're in a space where most, yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Spurs fans, but I feel like most of us would feel like, okay, if there was an opportunity to move on from him, now's that time. And we do have some promising talent in that position that may be looking to get in Postacoglu's ear during this preseason and say, hey, you know what? If you got problems with him, you've got me right here, ready to go. So I'm honestly very curious. Spurs have their first official preseason match coming up on Wednesday, I believe. I'm really curious to see some of these guys get their opportunity and what they do with it. And you got to remember, it's not necessarily an age thing, right? Because look at Sar. He's a young guy and he managed to earn his position. And I do feel like some of these midfielders that we have, um, they could fit the bill depending on how they perform and what they show to Postacoglu. So I'm really excited to see that aspect of it. And it honestly doesn't really make me miss Bentancur all that much if we were to send him off to Galatasaray or banish him to fucking wherever, send
to
him to.
Tange Land.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Hit
Tange
him up
Land
with
was
10 games.
Galatasaray too, wasn't it?
Yeah, except that they didn't like him because he
Well,
was unmotivated and lazy.
sure,
Um,
sure,
Surprise, surprise, right?
yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm curious about that position, and I feel like you're probably a little bit excited for it as well. Is there anybody who's got your eye that you're looking forward, eager to see on Wednesday's friendly?
Lucas Bergvall.
Same, man. It's fucking same. That is one impressive looking young man. I mean,
W-
was it Mike? Was it you that shared that strength training video that Spurs had posted?
Yeah, dude.
Like,
Like
holy shit, dude!
the strength team was impressed. So when you have a strength team that's impressed with something that sure a young man can do, I could never do shit like that when I was a young man. Um, certainly, I'm not anything close to, and I never was anything close to a world class, athlete per se. But I can, I can attest to like some of the things that these players are being asked to do. These young players are being asked to do. The thing that he did is impossible to do. Impossible to do. So he's either some sort of superhuman Swede sent here from the future to save Tottenham Hotspur from itself, or he's just he's really committed to you know working on his game, working on his strength, and working on himself as a person, and being able to bring something to Tottenham Hotspur. This kid, and for from what I've heard, um, he and Archie Gray, we'll get into talking about Archie a little bit, are highly impressive uh, in the preseason so far. Um, so we've heard that they impressed Postacoglu a lot in the closed door friendly. Um, they're impressing in training every single day out there. These young players, like and we've talked about in the past how Postacoglu didn't use these young players, and there's probably good reason for that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Ange came in, saw, holy fuck, this place is a mess. Um, none of the youth teams, none of the youth teams from U16 on up are through the 18s and the 21s are playing anything close to what the first team is playing, right? Um, so we bitched and complained about how some of these younger players didn't get their shot. However, now that we're bringing more and more younger players in, these players aren't being brought in if Ange doesn't okay it, right?
Hmm. I
My
believe it.
thought
Yeah,
is that
absolutely.
they started to put in Postacoglu's system in the youth ranks, so that when these young players are ready, whether they're going out on the loan, whether they're playing with the U16s, the U18s, the U21s, whether they're playing for their national teams at those levels or not, what they're doing is they're getting the training, they're getting the system down. It's being ingrained into them, so that at that point, when they come up, they're ready to slot right in when it's their time.
Yep.
Um, and hopefully we get to see a lot of Bergvall this year. We may not. You never know what's going to happen. Hopefully we get to see a lot of Jamie Donnelly. We get to see um, RG Gray. We're certainly going to get to see uh, you know all of the players that we got to see last year, right? Maybe with the exception of one or two. Um, you have players that we don't know what's going on with them yet. Jed Spence, whether he's impressing, um, it's likely Regulon is gone. It's likely like the players like that. Regulon is gone. Gil Hill is probably gone. Minner Solomon is probably going to be gone, but it'd be good to maybe have him in our back pocket. Who knows? We don't know what his situation was last year either. So there's a lot to be seen yet. There's a lot to that. Um, a lot of places we need to improve. There's a lot of places where we need to bring players in, and you know, um, every day the ITK is churning, and um, hopefully we're going to get some players in that we want to get in. But there are questions that have to be answered in some of these bigger positions, and defensively, and the wings for me, um, as well as center forward.
Yeah, center forward, I think, is probably one of the biggest ones and has been for a little while. But yeah, I'm curious to see where that goes. We need somebody to come in and do a job there. Uh, I don't know who. I would love it if we put in a cheeky bid for like Julian Alvarez, who apparently wants out of City. I would not be upset at that at all. I do think he's a talented kid. I don't know that he necessarily offers up the sort of center forward option that I think we necessarily need. It's almost, I hate to say it, I just don't know that he has the strength and the hold up play to be in that role as like the dedicated number one. And I think we need somebody who more fits that bill. But still, he's talented. He's a great finisher. Wouldn't be upset to have him on board at all. Um, some of these guys I do think are probably I don't know, almost like they're showing off ahead of potential loan moves. I think Donley is probably one who gets a championship loan, which would be fantastic for building up his experience, his confidence, potentially even his leadership ability, depending on where he goes. That would be good. Will Lankshire's another one who's probably going out to a loan club, probably at that mid to low championship table level. I think the tricky part is finding a club that is going to guarantee the playing time that we would like to see for some of these guys. Because look at what happened to Veliz, right? He went to Sevilla and then fucking did nothing because whether it was because he wasn't impressive or because the coach was too much of a coward to do anything different, I don't know, but that's the one nightmare situation you don't want for some of these guys.
Right.
But again, only time will tell. Um, we still have a long transfer window to go. We do have a friendly coming up in just a couple of days here, which I'm again very excited for. I might even splurge on the Spurs play just so I can make sure I
Ooh,
watch it.
I've already splurged.
Yeah.
There's other content. There's other content than just the live content.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll actually be incentivized to watch some of these youth games. I wish they did a better job at, utilizing social media to tell people when these games were on, so that I wouldn't miss them. But, we'll see how it goes this year. Maybe I'll build a calendar myself. Um, because man, it's going to be so good to be back. And you know what? We haven't even talked about Angie's summer job. We didn't get an opportunity.
And just good at telling other people what to do.
I love Ange. I
I think he
thought
was.
he
I think
was
he was great
fucking
in that
awesome.
position. I think he was great in that position. There's a couple of reasons why. I think I and I think it's very telling as to what he's thinking when he's going into these press conferences, when he's doing when he's saying a lot of the things he says. He's being kind of a little bit coy about
Koi, koi,
what
koi, koi,
he's doing
koi.
himself, what he's doing himself, um, with his team. But he is coming out and he's really good at saying, picking out things apart, and which he did last year with this club, with our own club, is picking things apart and saying, okay, this guy needs to be doing this. This guy needs to be doing this. This guy needs to be doing this. But my favorite thing that he did um, was telling Gareth Southgate, uh, play these players in their given fucking positions, you idiot. Stop trying to play Trent Arnold, in the fucking midfield.
Yeah, what a fucking moron. I hope he gets sacked for England's sake. They've got way too much talent to have
I
to
hope he
suffer
does get
through
sacked. I hope he
Southgate.
does get sacked. I just hope it's not before the U.S. finds a coach.
True, because I would not want him coming to the U.S. Speaking of the U.S. and keeping things a little bit more local, I do have one. Well, actually, I have two items that I kind of want to discuss. One of them is way more serious than the other, so I think I'm going to start with the fun one, just to add a little brevity to the show.
Sure.
Hey, Mike, what you drinking?
Yay! I was hoping you were going to say that, Steve. I really was. Um, I went down with the Green Mountain Boys to Western Massachusetts, and we stopped at Treehouse Brewing, and I got a beer. Um, I got a number.
Surprise!
I, Yeah, I got a number of beers here. I got all of these here. I got a whole bunch of beers. Some with cool labels, some with regular treehouse labels. This one has a regular treehouse label. I want to drink this because you can only get them in 2 packs. Because they are a limited edition. They don't brew them ever. This one is a take on their. Can't really see it. It's a take on there. It's a cool gold label.
Take on me.
Take
Take
on
me
me. All right.
on.
Um, it's a take on their Julius, which is kind of their flagship IPA. This is called Liquid Julius. I'm going to read this off to you.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this because Julius is one of my favorite beers. I love it. Um, in we're starting off with an IPA with this shit. Liquid Julius is a rare riff on Julius featuring liquid hop concentrate. So it's probably going to be pretty balmy. It says pouring a glowing orange into your glass. It presents with intoxicating tropical character, dominated by mango and sweet orange, with notes of passion fruit and bountiful island citrus fruits. I am really excited about this beer. Thoughtfully crafted, it will never tire your palate and remains enjoyable all the way to the bottom of your glass. Liquid hop concentrate is in addition to the standard Julius dry hop, giving this one off rendition a level of hop saturation that has no peer. Um, I'm very excited about this. I've been in the beer chat, the beer chat on
You in a beer chat?
yeah, on the extra inch Discord, um, which Windy and I kind of started the beer chat because I kept on chatting it up in the general comments, and I'm sure people were getting sick of it.
Please make him stop.
So I did promise that I would shout somebody out on this one, because um, because they had posted some beers on there, and they were celebrating passing the last of their preclinical medical exams, and they treated themselves with a beer from Verdant, which is a brewery that I want to try soon myself. But we don't get to do that because we're here in Vermont. But I just want to shout out Matt S, who is he calls himself Kane Hater, like you have Kane's curse on your screen today. Um,
He's cursed. You know
so
what?
I'm gonna.
Nobody ever
I
asks.
told him I would. I told him I would shout him out.
How
Also, I was
kind.
drinking a Julius for the final the other day, and I said it's coming home on that chat, and
And
then
then
I
it
I
didn't.
said I fucking jinxed it, and then one of the other guys said I promise you it wasn't you that jinxed it.
I gotta ask, does Harry Kane need to leave England to win trophies?
um, he tried that. He went to Germany.
Oh,
I, th-
right. Germany's
I
big
think if he wants
deals.
to win a trophy, he needs to go. He needs to go and play with Inter Miami. So, um,
That would be the year that they collapse and completely.
well, they're gonna collapse now that Messi's out for the rest of the season,
Did you
probably.
see his ankle?
That
Holy
was fucked,
shit.
dude. That was fucked. That was chunkier than this beer looks.
God. Oh my
And
god. That's
apparently, this is how you're supposed to pour
PTSD.
these beers in this glass. This is a cool glass that I got at the Alchemist. Look at that.
Look at that head.
It's supposed to be like that. Apparently, they it's an
That is
IPA. It's a specific IPA glass.
I don't think I've ever received a head like that before.
No, I bet you haven't received head like that before. Um, this looks like a what they would call in the medical field as a marital device. This glass. Um,
Ooh.
by marital device, I mean dildo. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
ridged.
looking.
It's like a yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna drink out of this thing.
Fuck, man. Now I can't stop thinking about. I'm sure somebody somewhere has. You know what? I'm not even gonna say has. I bet somebody somewhere in the world, right now, this very second, has a glass just like that lodged somewhere that it really shouldn't, and some poor doctor is going to have to figure out how to get it out without breaking the glass and causing damage.
That would be some sort of dilemma, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This glass is ultra thin, so I wouldn't want to even try it. Um, I wouldn't entertain the notion, not even a little bit.
Yeah, well, some people are fucked up. What can I say? They look at things like that and they think, hey, I bet I know where I could stick this.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Doctor, I don't know how it got there. I went to go sit down and
I slipped and fell.
I
Um,
slipped and fell.
that's always the excuse. I work in the medical field. I've seen it 100,000 times. I'm an X-ray tech. So this beer, let's get back to before we get off track here. This
Any
beer
more than we
is
have.
it's really fucking good. It's not as good as Julius. I think Julius is just maybe with this. I like the description. I'm not gonna say that this is not a top beer because it is. It's got the Julius bones, but it's got the addition of the liquid hops, which I think are just a little bit too much for the way it was described as. I mean the it's definitely not as it says it's not going to tire your palate, right? On the can, I think I read. But I don't think I could have more than a few of these. And by a few, I mean
All
two.
right, all right.
A couple, I should say.
A
It's
pair.
6.8% alcohol, so it's not like a heavy duty boozy beer. It's not like
You
boozy on
said
the tongue.
duty.
It does have a lot of that mango. It has that citrus quality to it. It has that thick, unfiltered IPA. But
But
um, I'll do another sip. I'm gonna give you my
my finger's hovering over the enter key.
okay. I really like it, but I'm not gonna have a ton of them. Um, this beer for me is going to be a 3.9.
Oh, damn it. Too low, too low. I went with the
3.6. Okay. Okay.
3.6.
Okay.
All right,
I
all
hear you.
right.
I hear you. It's a 3.9. Again, it's not the best IPA I've ever had before. Um, it does have the bones of the Julius, but I think it's ruined by the extra hops, the hop concentrate. I was very excited about this, but it's just it's a it's like your favorite band getting a new singer, you know, but he
Yep.
still sings the same songs. And I'm not talking like in a good way, like AC/DC. Like you're not getting Brian Johnson replacing Bon Scott. It's like it would be like it's not this bad, I guess. I was gonna say it'd be like Oasis, replacing one of the Gallagher brothers with Billy Joel. Um, so the beer's not that terrible. Um, but you get what I'm saying. It's like it's okay. It's not it's Van Halen. It's Van Hagar,
Van Hagar.
It's Van Hagar. It's not Van Halen, you know?
All right, all right. Well, speaking of Van Halen, you had a song for us.
Fuck it. Jump. Why not?
Jump.
No, we can't. We
Mm,
can't say jump, can we? We can say right here, right now.
might as well jump. Why can't we say jump?
Yeah. Well, because I said it was Van Hagar.
That's fair. Okay, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
You can say anything off of the album 5150.
Just take your pick. All I can think of is,
I can't drive 55.
yeah, yeah, I got nothing.
Sammy Hagar. Anyway,
Sorry, Hagar, you're just not as good.
no, you're not as good. You're not as good as David Lee Roth. Um,
She never will be.
that could be an argument for another time. But let's get into some final discussion here because I think we're coming up on time, my friend.
Yeah, surprisingly, time flies when you're having fun.
We could have done this for 2 fucking hours today.
Absolutely. And you know
But
what? I'm sure people now they would have turned it off 5 minutes into it anyway, right? That's
well, they already have. I mean,
fuck it. No, Dave, I'm out of here.
yeah, I think that's what it is. The dulcet tones of Dave.
You know what? I can't help it that my voice sounds like this. Blame my parents, all right?
That's true. That's true. Um, my voice is very grating as well. So,
Not
I
everybody
thought
has
about
that.
like I want to do a true crime pod that's about fake crimes. Just make a whole bunch of shit up,
That would be
but
hilarious.
do it in like a true crime pod style.
But you really need Dave to voice it.
Yeah, you do.
Dave, can you just read this for me?
I could be like the crazy guy who was an eyewitness to something that you know one of the crimes that's been perpetrated.
One of these fake crimes. Anyway, back on track. Let's. So what have we got for us, Mike? Oh, I
um,
did have one more question that I wanted to ask. The
oh
less
yeah, you were
fun
gonna ask
one.
me 2 questions.
Yeah, this one's going to be a really quick and really easy one because I think you can have a very quick and concise answer. What the fuck is Alexi Lawless's problem?
Um, well, we can start with him being slightly MAGA, which we won't get into because it's a sensitive subject right now. Um, um, if
Sorry, I don't
if
need to shoot anybody's ear off over it. Too soon.
no, but I'm going to start a new conspiracy theory website called R, and it's going to be the new conspiracy website's going to be an evolution of Q, but it's going to be a liberal one where this was all staged. I think it was all staged. But anyway, getting off that subject,
It's
Alexi
just a
Lawless.
conspiracy, people. It's
It's just a conspiracy theory. Alexi Lawless has an issue. That guy, um, no, it's not that he's a little bit MAGA. I think he's just, I think he's um, somebody who's been given way too much credit in his past for being brilliant. And I think his the game has passed him up. Um, and he's just not willing to accept that. He still thinks he's all knowing. I mean, there were a couple of times where his co-hosts rolled their eyes at him, told him straight up that he was wrong. I'm talking about when it was Chilini said that he was that he had mentioned something about how what's with all this playing out of the back stuff, blah blah
oh
blah, and
yeah.
he had criticizing it, and he was like, you know what I'm saying, guys, and both of his co-hosts were like, no, actually, I think playing out of the back is amazing. It's a new way to play football,
Just
and
because you can't do it.
yeah, right, because you're a relatively decent center back with a fucking sick goalkeeper, and you had crazy hair, you know, and your team did well once upon a time. Um,
See, I was gonna say that he's got to be like the
Landon
poster
Donovan
child
has
for like.
Landon Donovan has a lot of the same qualities as an announcer. Neither one of these guys could have driven the bus for any of these teams, and they're sitting there criticizing them, and it
Look, this
drives me
is
crazy.
this is what happens when you head the ball too many times. Long-term side effects. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take one of their teammates as an example, Brad Friedel um, did not head the ball too many times. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, so I'm just gonna ex Tottenham Hotspur as well. Um, I think that he's been given too much credit in his past for moderate success. And nobody's ever told him that he was wrong. So he just keeps coming up with these asinine things that he says and does, and he's trying to help Americans assimilate into the soccer world, and it's just not working. Based on his past accomplishments, and I just think he's a dope. Um, it's the same. It's not necessarily the same that I think about Tim Howard. I think Tim Howard's just an asshole.
Fair, yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, I don't really have much to say on Alexi Lawless other than I generally just turn off the TV when he's talking.
fair enough. All right. Anyway, I interrupted you from talking about something that was probably way more interesting.
Oh yeah, my final thoughts. My final thoughts here are these guys. We've got and again we could have done a 2 hour podcast tonight, but nobody wants to listen to that. Um, we will have another podcast coming up soon once we get more signings in. We can talk we don't have Euros, we don't have Copa, we don't have any kind of crazy shit to talk about.
We got we
Just
got preseason coming up.
just some signings and some preseason stuff, and we'll be able to talk about that. Um, in a little more detail. It'll be a little more fun. Um, and hopefully, maybe we have King David the First back at that point um, when he's decided that summer's over and he no longer hates summer. Um, anyway, he's like the Heatmeister, right? The Heat Miser. Anyway, um, my final thoughts are these guys. We have a window of no football coming up. So sit back, relax. If you want to look at the ITK as a fun thing, go ahead and do that. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out in the next few days because players are now going to start speaking to teams about transfers and that kind of stuff. You're going to start speaking to the media outlets. Their representatives are going to start speaking to media outlets, trying to get um, trying to get the best deals for their players and for the clubs that they're leaving. There's going to be a flurry of activity, and I'm excited to look at it and see what the possibilities are for all these players. But as for right now, unless that guy is holding that shirt up, just look at ITK as some fun stuff. You know, um, there's not a likelihood we're going to get Pedro Neto and and Eze, another guy who didn't get played by Southgate. There's not a huge likelihood we're going to get both of those players, or maybe not even one of them. It's fun to entertain those ideas. As he's an amazing young player, as is Neto. Neto has a bit of an injury history, but to watch that guy play in that system for Wolves was amazing. So, I mean, a lot of this ITK, again, it's nonsense, but if you're going to look at it in a fun way, use it for some fun and say, what could happen if we did this? If we signed this guy, that would be really cool, but don't be like pissed off if it doesn't happen. And you know that every time one of these players that were quote unquote linked with gets sold to another team, that the purple and gold folks come out there and they start criticizing Daniel Levy. Be sure, in my final words of these, be sure that if they do not sign for us, and it has nothing to do with Daniel Levy.
It has everything to do with you forgetting your hopes.
And it has everything to do with this is
You
not the player
specifically, the
this is not
listener.
the player that Ange wanted. In
Absolutely.
in the end, that's it. This is not the player Ange wanted. Don't get disappointed.
Don't be disappointed. You get what you get, and you don't get upset.
That's right. I like that.
Excellent.
Steve,
Excellent.
what are your final thoughts? I've been wondering.
My final thoughts. My final thoughts are this, Mike. I think that a lot of these players honestly deserve a bit of a break. It's been a long year. I know that I believe clubs typically give like a 3-week vacation period following the conclusion of their international before they're due back at the club. And I know there are some guys who are going to cut that short just to get back and try to impress and do all the things to get in Ange's good graces. And I respect that and I appreciate it. But at the same time, I really hope that none of these players do something stupid like rush themselves back just to get injured and end up out for the season because they were already at their limit. They pushed themselves too much. They didn't give enough time to appropriately recover, and they're just destroying their bodies for it. We as fans want to see the best possible lineup. I get it. We all want our best starting 11 available all the time, but these are human beings. Injuries are a risk. Recurring injuries are a risk. And when you're playing that much for such a long period of time without any meaningful break, you are at risk for destroying your body and making things that much worse. I would not want us as fans putting pressure on any of these guys to rush into things that they are not ready for just because we're on social media calling for them to come back early, or we're trying to push for a signing in their position and they feel threatened. No, I want us to remember that these are human beings. They deserve a break. They deserve the opportunity to rest. And if they're not back for these first preseason games, that's fine. Watch some of these younger guys. Check out Mikey Moore. Check out Jamie Donnelly, Archie Gray. Any of these guys that we've talked about. This is frankly their best opportunity to play in a Spurs shirt this season, and they are going to try and impress. Um, so why not support these guys and let the others take a break? I know they definitely deserve it. We've talked at length during the season about Son's lack of vacation and how it hinders his form. And he's one that I really hope got a nice break for this summer period. He wasn't involved in Euros or Copa America or anything. So I hope he got his rest in. I hope he's ready to go. But the guys, Romero, take your fucking 3 weeks. Like, your position's not in any risk. Go lay on a beach somewhere, soak up the sun, have a couple of drinks, enjoy your time away, and then just come back rejuvenated. There's absolutely no reason for somebody like Romero to rush back. Van de Ven, with the injury concern, I hope he takes a little bit of a break, but he's one that I can see probably cutting it short. But fortunately, he only had, some 10-minute increments out there. So I don't know that he's necessarily as taxed as like a Romero, but regardless,
He's got a week on everybody else anyway.
Yeah, I do think we as fans have an obligation to cut these players some slack and let them, relax, enjoy their time, and also don't fucking harass them about ITK bullshit. If they're on vacation, they're on vacation. Stop asking about every fucking tabloid rumor that comes up. Give them a break, let them rest. That's the end.
Don't throw fucking bottles at fans. And don't be a racist.
Don't be a racist. It's such an easy thing. It's not difficult.
And that leads right into, if Dave were here, what would he ask you? What are the type what things would he say to you? I think he would say, what would he say? He would say, Steve, you have any final words for us?
I do have some final words, actually. Coys.
And
this one goes out to you, Rodrigo Bentancur. Don't be an asshole.
He says it every week, guys. Every week.
Yeah, this time I'm specifically calling out one player. But hey, Mike, what about you? Do you have any final words you'd like to share?
Guys, gals, everybody in between. It's hot out there, man. I think I said this last time. Get that SPF on you. You don't want skin cancer. I want you happy. I want you healthy, and I want you to be safe.
Get your fucking bug spray on too. Those mosquitoes are a son of a bitch this year. Holy shit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm working on
But
killing them.
also, Mike, and
And Tottenham Hotspur action. It's fantastic.
there it is.